Alright, welcome back to Ultimate Classic Special number 1, and now we're on part 2, and we're covering issues 3 and 4 of Ultimates 3. First up, show off the cover for issue 1. Basically, it's Wolverine versus a T-Rex. Yeah, I gotta admit, this is an awesome looking cover. Yeah. Yep, and then, of course, we have a variant cover by Frank Cho seeing a sexy Scarlet Witch. Too bad she never wears his outfit the entire time she's in the universe. Yeah, and of course, Wolverine puts out the obvious. Scarlet Witch is dead, murder on the streets, stuff like that, yeah. Basically, the whole point of Wolverine, this particular part of the book, recapping the first 2 issues. You're asking why. Pietro calls his father, and of course bullets, and of course they talk about stuff that happened in the previous issue, and of course Cap calls Wolverine by his real name, which is James. He says, "How do you know any of this?" And Wolverine says, "Because the X-Men make Magneto their business." And then there's an obvious continuity nod, and he says, and Hawkeye says, "Didn't you used to belong to the Brotherhood? Didn't you used to have a wife and kids?" And then they fight on a 2-page spread. Yeah. Muty. Yeah, and they start shooting and they start fighting each other. And then Hawkeye, who's got a death wish, and he's like, and Hawkeye's like, "What? Oh, did I use my outside voice?" Yeah, Wanda's like, "What's wrong with you?" And then he tells her to F off, and then he also tells Cap the same thing too. I'm not going to say the full F word, okay? He says F off. That's what he says. I am not kidding. Loeb wrote Hawkeye as a guy who swears, something he never did in any other book aside from this one. And of course, Thor's like, enough. Like they fight amongst themselves to find out exactly where the Brotherhood went. Like Thor's need to find the Brotherhood. He says, "I'm talking about Magneto. I'm talking about Pietro." And he's like, "How much do you know about Pietro and Wanda before they came to the group?" Find out when he killed the Scarlet Witch. Think of Magneto, sorry, she killed him mine. And we see a flashback of Wolverine where he's walking in the snow, and he comes to Wendigo Mountain, and he comes across a woman named Magna, and even I admit, this particular part is quite stupid for Loeb to mention this. Yeah, you have a woman who Wolverine had sex with in this comic, and she does this. She bends her spine like it's made of rubber. Now, you might occasionally see something like this nowadays, but back in the early 90s, this is quite common for women to do. Basically have their spines made of rubber. Yeah. And then, of course, Magneto shows up and basically throws Wolverine out of this cabin in the nude. Yeah. You see, Wolverine and Magna just finished having sex, and then Magneto shows up. Of course, he wasn't Magneto, but technically he's Magneto. Throws him out of this cabin, and throws him out in the snow where he's still butt-ass nude. And he never found the mountain again, and he meets up with Magneto years later in the Savage Land of all places, which I've heard in the Ultimateverse is an island. And of course you have Pietro being very protective of his sister, something he actually does do in the 616 universe. And of course Magneto wants Wolverine to kill Pietro. He kind of does, he stabs him in the shoulder, then Wanda is like, "James, you will leave my brother alone." Yeah, and he's like, "I realized then there wasn't I was there. I realized Pietro wasn't protecting the world from Wanda from the world. He was protecting the world from Wanda." Yeah, apparently she caused the dinosaurs coming to the Savage Land. And of course Wolverine gets scared away, and then it's like, oh yeah, of course Pietro rubs her sister's. Pietro was rubbing his cheek, and of course says something kind of wonderful to the mother. And it's heavily implied by this very panel that Wolverine just was sitting in the bushes watching Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch have sex. I am not kidding. That's what this panel implies. He watched two people having sex. Two people who happen to be brother and sister. And I'm so glad the artist did not show that. And probably a lot of people agree with me. Do not show Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch having sex with each other. Not even in flashbacks. And Hawkeye's like, I don't want to understand. It's sick. Yeah, and work with a shield, stuff like that. And of course, Cap wants to split two teams, despite the fact Janet is leader of the team, but Cap still thinks in his mind he's leader of the team, despite the fact he gave the spot to Wasp. He does this a couple times in the book. He does in this issue, and he does in the last one as well, where he still thinks in his mind, despite the fact that he is not in charge of the team, is Wanda's team, not his. My guess is the reason why Loeb wrote it like that is because Mark Millar had it where he was the leader of the group in the previous two books. That's my theory. I don't know. And he says that he wants to send Thor, Iron Man, Wolverine, and himself to go out to Magneto. And he says, I can appreciate you wanting to take the big guns Magneto. That's how we're doing it. And Wasp says, I need Cap and Iron Man to stay here in New York. Pietro said Scarlet was killed with a DNA Pacific bullet. Tony Stark is the best person where it came from, and I need you, Steve, to hold it together when the story blows up. Logan, you have any where to start? Yep. And start assembling a team. And the team is Valkyrie, Thor, Wolverine, and I think Hawkeye and Panther. Panther never speaks a word this entire comic. And there's a reason for that. I'll get to that soon. It says, that's a Black Panther? Is Nevis? Nope, not really. And they fly off, which I think is supposed to be the ultimate version of the Quinjet. Yeah, never explain exactly what the heck this thing is in the comic. And he's like, Tony, I should also point out that when I saw this armor again, I'm like, did Tony just ditch the armor he's wearing in this universe at this point for 7 years? That ugly armor and basically put on good armor? Yeah, this armor is a lot better than his actual armor. And then comes a very interesting plot twist. Yeah, it's like, yeah, he admits that that Stark Industries does have the technology, does have the resources to build the specific bullet. And it's like, who built it, Tony? And then here comes one of the best plot twists of the series. Who said anything about being Tony? Yep, so you have a robot wearing Iron Man's armor. And the Wasp gets taken out. And then you have this other team goes into Savage Land. And of course, they all just start walking around. Of course, Wolverine smells something's up with Panther. And then the issue, like, everyone's like walking around like, seeing ducks, right? That'll be us. And of course, the issue ends with the ultimate, I think this is supposed to be the ultimate debut of Zabu, Kazar, and Shauna the She-Devil. Yep. And here's issue 4. Awesome cover. Yep. And of course, a David Finch cover. Yes, David Finch, I know he's the artist for Ultimate, but this is a good cover too. Then we open up to a flashback where it looks like you have Xavier, Magneto, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch are flying someplace. And they crash, which I believe in the Savage Land. And apparently, this is supposed to be implied in here. It's supposed to be, these two are supposed to be possibly Shauna and Kazar. And apparently, they're like old childhood friends, and they come dating later on. Like, so basically, it's implied that Kazar was born in the Savage Land. And of course, unlike in the 616 universe, when these two met when they were adults, in this universe they met as kids. Okay, fine. And of course, yeah, Shauna and Kazar are dating. That's fine. At least not brother and sister. Yeah, and of course, we see an awesome scene. We have Hawkeye and Thor basically pulling these weapons out. Yeah, Thor brought his weapons. Also, this is something I thought was weird. He says, nice stuff. Gifts from my father, and all forged by Yoke the Troll. Really? I thought, is there a discount if I can order a little something for myself? Now, when I heard the name Yolk the Troll, I'm like, that sounds very familiar. Yeah, he's an actual villain 616. So apparently, in the Ultiverse, Yolk, if you look him up, he's this big hulking troll who actually is a villain, who's actually a Thor villain. Apparently, in this universe, he's a blacksmith. And then we see, like, just talking for a bit. And of course, we see Iron Man, well, fake Iron Man, basically holding up the Wasp, and of course, he gets sliced up by a Captain America, which is actually a robot. And he says, the Schwarzenegger line, "Come with me if you want to live." Yep. And it turns out this robot is actually commanded by Hank Pym, who's become Ant-Man now. Yep. Yeah, he became Ant-Man for the first time in this universe in Ultimates 2 for like 2 issues. Oh, and I should also bring up this. Before Thor and Valkyrie hooked up, this is something quite weird that Mark Millar did. He had it where in the same issue where he joined the Defenders, where Hank Pym slept with Valkyrie. And this is before she got powers. Yep. Is this brought up here? Nope. I think there's a conspiracy involving these robots. And of course, then Hawkeye gets attacked by Sabretooth. And of course, Sabretooth, well, yeah, Sabretooth gets attacked by Zabu. And of course, Hawkeye is wounded. And then, of course, Wolverine takes on the Ultimate Juggernaut. No, this is not the first time this guy has shown up. He showed up in the second arc of Ultimate X-Men. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the way he looks. At least that Mark Millar kept him very similar to how he looks in 616. Except he has a sort of silent eye appearance. Yep. And he's like, the frickin' Juggernaut? He's like, oh no, not him. He's like, it's not like, oh my gosh. It's a Juggernaut, like he's shocked. It seems like, he's like silent. Oh no, not him. And of course, he beats him up. And then we cut away to seeing Valkyrie riding on a black Pegasus horse. And she falls off. And apparently she wakes up where she looks like she's wearing the outfit she wore in Ultimates 2. Yeah, apparently she's at, like, her rent is due and her landlord is supposed to get her. And then we turn out this is actually illusion by Mastermind. And Pyro is there, and they want to rape Valkyrie. That's the whole point of this scene. They want to rape Valkyrie. And we cut away to this awesome scene of Thor and Shauna the She-Devil fighting dinosaurs. Press on to victory! And of course Shauna's like, where are the Ultimates? And no, I don't count this as an Eshiger's post because that actually can be done. And of course we see Thor fighting Uranus the Untouchable. He says, this place is untouchable unless you stand against a god. And you are mortal. A thing of mere flesh and blood. Yeah, so basically in this one scene, Thor just killed Uranus the Untouchable. Yep. That's basically what happened. And Magneto's like, enough, get a chance to surrender. Of course, and then of course Thor takes on Magneto. Yep. For a couple of pages, but it is awesome to see Thor versus Magneto. Something you don't see in 616. These two take on each other. And of course Pietro's like, what's going on? And of course, he's trying to end his revolution. And Hank is like explaining to Janet, and of course we cut away back to the mansion where Hank is explaining to Janet what's going on. And it turns out this robot is actually, and turns out this fake Iron Man is Ultron. And apparently he wants to get drunk too. Apparently he's like Iron Man, his same personality. Yeah, let's have some vodka. Yeah, let me find some vodka. Yeah. Yeah, almost perfect. Going to put Fury in charge. Yeah, Iron Man is not the fake Iron Man is not Ultron. Who Ultron is basically this guy here. This one who's wearing the Yellow Jacket costume. That is Ultron. These are all fake Ultimates. Yeah, these are all the robotic Ultimates. They only appear for these 2 issues. But I'm gonna end it right there. That's a nice little cliffhanger. Oh, and also, Thor is carrying his ultimate hammer. That's his actual hammer. As to why this Thor has it, completely unexplained. My guess is that Ultron must have built them. Now, what do I think of these 2 issues? Well, they're actually a little bit better than the first 2 issues, I gotta admit. Definitely that. The plot actually has advanced a little bit more. The only thing I thought was there's not many plot holes in these 2 issues as it was in the first 2 issues. And of course you have the whole thing with Wolverine's flashback where he has sex with Magneto's wife. That does get followed upon later on when this woman actually gives birth to his only known child. If you know the Ultimate X series that came after Ultimatum, yeah. That scene led to that miniseries. That was the whole point. It was basically, that was a plot thread that wasn't explored for about, I'd say, a year, until Jeff Lowe basically decided to have that plot thread basically lead into the, it's kind of minorly followed upon Ultimatum, but it does get fully followed upon in Ultimate X. A 5-issue limited series that was originally supposed to be an ongoing series, but was reduced to a limited series because of humongous delays. Yep. And the plot twist with the fake Iron Man being with this Iron who took out who showed up and basically turned out to be a fake Iron Man. That was a really neat twist. And you have some interesting plot with the robots. Hank become Ant-Man probably because he couldn't become Giant Man. Yeah, and that's something also odd about this series. He never goes giant size in all 5 issues. Like, whenever he uses his side-changing powers, he only goes to 6 inches. Basically, he just becomes Ant-Man in these issues. That's all he does. So I can definitely say, these 2 issues are better. Hardly any plot holes in these 2 issues, but at least nothing is as crazy as the first 2 issues. So I give these 2 issues a 7 out of 10. Improvement, definitely. Not as much gross, not as much as gross stuff, not as grotesque stuff as you guys have seen in Ultimatum, but a little bit of gross stuff, but not. It's very much applied, but it's actually a lot more better, especially seeing Thor fighting dinosaurs. That was awesome. But it was odd seeing Thor kill off an X-Men character in the form of Unity the Untouchable, a character he never fought in 616 at all. Yeah, the whole point of this miniseries is just the Ultimates versus the Brotherhood. Something that can never... Actually, that has happened, but Thor never actually killed any of the Ultimates. Yeah, so basically, killing off Eunice is actually the second person to die in this limited series. Yep, so overall, in 4 issues, we've had 2 characters die. And there's going to be more in the next issue. So, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the conclusion to this 3-part special look at Ultimates 3, where I'm going to look at issue 5, final issue of this limited series. And I'm going to get my final thoughts overall on these 5 issues. So, until then, I will see you there. Bye.